Sanjeev, how are you doing, my friend?
Hey, Sandra, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too, especially on this topic. A good lightweight topic for once, talking about humor in the workspace. And that's where I found you on LinkedIn, always dropping these memes, the good, funny stuff. I gotta say, my usually people have rituals like meditation before they go to sleep, or reading, or avoiding screens in general. My routine before going to sleep is browse through 9gag, an app, a
Uh-huh.
website specifically dedicated to memes. But you are the owner or the founder of Supermeme.ai. Tell us more about that.
Nice. So Supermeme.ai is an AI meme generator, and that sounds like, okay, you know what? How can AI create memes? Like, does AI know how to be funny? But then what, it's three of us who started this company. So it's me, and there is Nico, who's not very far from you. He's also from Netherlands. And there's Ramshri, who's based out of Hyderabad, another city in India. So what we realize is, okay, there's a part of memes that are funny that get shared a lot and go viral and everything. But there is an angle to memes that businesses want to leverage. Like businesses are looking to stand out in their marketing, and memes seem to be popular, and people are using memes to communicate ideas, talk about their product, and all those things. So what we wanted to do was we want to enable marketing teams who want to use memes as part of their marketing. We want to enable them to create them because meme creation is not easy. There's a lot of steps involved. We need to know what template to use. We need to think about the copy. We want to kind of democratize that entire process, and that's kind of the whole genesis of Supermeme.ai.
And that's perfect because you see these things popping up more and more. It used to be more on platforms like Facebook or just my friends sending memes, like see what we've come up with. But it seems to be on LinkedIn becoming a trend as well. Hashtag Meme Monday and these kind of things, which I'm an avid fan of. But where do you feel that this comes from? What is the need to get more humor into the workspace?
Okay, so a lot of time you content gets saturated, right? So which I think is happening to a lot of the educational content, a lot of the the motivational content, or what we call the gyanish content, where people are trying to tell you something, and you don't want to read those, and that's kind of what used to be popular amongst LinkedIn, where people will tell you that this is what I learned, and it's still popular today. But the problem is you've seen enough of that, and you need something else to stand out from the crowd. And humor, we all love humor, and that's something that all of us enjoy. We love reading comic strips, we love puns, jokes, and we like watching all these short funny videos on Twitter. So what hasn't happened so far is the kind of this business side of things and humor coming together. We don't see a lot of that happening, which I think is picking up now. So we have a lot of people who are focused on business humor. You have, for example, Dilbert is a great example of how when those two worlds come together, it can create very relatable humor. So I just think we need more of that. And humor is also a great vehicle to communicate. Right? I think that's where I'm coming from. Like, let's say I do a lot of these short videos on LinkedIn as well, where I try to make fun of office meetings. So for me, it's predominantly about pointing out the mistakes that people do and like kind of holding a mirror to them. This is kind of how you look, this is kind of how you sound when you say and do those things. And if it helps them remember and get out of those bad habits, I think that's kind of what I consider a victory in terms of like for the things that I do. So I think humor is a great vehicle to communicate ideas, and it helps stand out from the regular stuff that you see on LinkedIn or any other social media platform for that matter.
How did you get, speaking of those videos, because I really enjoy those where you seem to be mimicking yourself and then mirroring. And how did you get to that idea? Like, what's the point that you figured, you know what I'm going to do? This.
So, okay, to be honest, it started with me trying to make a serious video, like everyone else, right? So, I got my phone, I put on a tripod, I got these AirPods because I needed good quality. And then I started talking. I started talking about note taking, why it's important to have a proper note taking process. It's like a 10-minute video, recorded that, played it back, and found that, nobody's going to watch this. It's extremely boring, and people don't need this right now. But then I had the setup already, and that's kind of when I thought, okay, obviously it didn't come to me from out of nowhere. I was already seeing, like following people like Alexis Gay, Corporate Natalie, Corporate Bro, who are really good at the whole business humor part of it. So Alexis Gay is a stand-up comedian in New York, so she does a lot of these startup / Silicon Valley humor kind of videos, and I'm a fan. I really like those videos. So I thought, let me try something like that with what I know, which is product management. And personally, I am also struggling to understand what exactly product managers do, and what is their role like. So I kind of picked that as a topic and started talking about product. What do product managers do in meetings? And I recorded that, edited it, and put it out. And I'm grateful, and I was quite surprised to see the kind of engagement it got. And then I realized, what, this is something that people seem to like. So let me look for more things to make fun out of, and it was all around me. I could get so many ideas once you start looking for them, and that's kind of how I started creating those videos.
You mentioned the product manager stuff, and I was just scrolling through, and I see here the training a new project manager video, and it has almost 15,000 likes, which is for LinkedIn standards, it's a lot. So let's pull it up and let's listen to your video for the people who are tuning in through audio. You can hear it, you can listen to it.
Nice. I've never seen one of my own videos with someone else, so this is going to be interesting.
Well, there we go. So I have a little bit of a prime.
Agile, Scrum, Kanban, Lean. No, Lean. Oh, lean. So what's the difference between all of them? Okay, so Agile is a certification. No, Agile is a mindset. It's a way to look at your project, a way to look at your life. But your LinkedIn profile says Agile Certified Thought Leader. Yeah, it's also a certification. So is Kanban also a certification? No, Kanban is okay, it's a mindset. Sometimes, but Kanban is a methodology from the 1940s. Oh, so it's outdated? No. Next question. So what is this Scrum? Is that also a methodology? No, that's a framework. Very different from methodology. How different? You know what? Let's just talk about Lean. That's the most important part. Now, Lean focuses on eliminating waste. It eliminates any activity that wastes time, like this meeting.
Visibly leaves. This stuff is golden, man. This is genius.
Thank you so much, Sandra. And this is good because I was looking at you and kind of the reactions that it's good because when I create, for example, this video, I did not expect it to do as well as it did because so I did it for a conference. So for this company called Jexo, and it was part of me helping with their content. So then I obviously posted it after the conference was done. And project management is not my primary role, right? But then I know enough to kind of create content out of it. So then I realized, okay, you know what? These words, and when I thought of project management, these were the words that were confusing me. So I thought, let me just create something with that. So it is quite surprising to see what resonates and what doesn't. But yeah, I'm very grateful for the kind of engagement I get.
That's pretty cool. But how do you come up with these kind of ideas? What is the trigger that you think, I'm going to go with this?
I think it's because I am kind of I usually do this at work, right? When you see something that is for example, in this case, I was always confused. But what are these words? What are these Agile, Kanban, or what are these words? Because if you kind of go deep and read about them, the core principle isn't that complicated. Just that the labeling and the packaging is so complicated, it makes it look like there's something so complex that no one can understand. You need to go through multiple certifications to understand them. So I just wanted to kind of bring out what I went through when I got exposed to those terms. In obviously had your own version of humor, right? So that's kind of how I came with, okay, what happens when you join a new company and an expert who probably uses these words in every meeting, and for them it's second nature, but for someone new who's hearing it for the first time, how do they perceive them? So that's kind of how I came up with this. And obviously it is quite funny, and it's not as serious. Okay, what is a mindset? What is a framework? They're all kind of the same if you think about it. And those are the kind of things that I want to call out, saying that you're probably paying too much attention to these words and these frameworks and this thing than the actual work. Towards the end, when it says, okay, Lean is about eliminating waste, which means that entire meeting is a waste because they're not talking about anything useful. They're talking about all the things that are the buzzwords in the industry. So those are the things that I want to call out.
People tend to invest so much time in just having their opinion shared rather than, all right, let's see what issue we have and how to fix that.
Yes. Because when you let's say propose an idea, you usually hear something like, but then Agile, Agile doesn't recommend that, or you hear something like, but according to the lean principles, I mean, I don't know lean, so I'm just like making things up. According to like 7 principles of lean, there you lose the point of this whole thing, right? So lean or Agile are tools designed to help you get the job done. If it gets in the way of getting the job done, then you're doing something completely wrong, which is kind of what I observe and what I wanted to bring out as well.
What's the general response that you get? Like, is this something that people relate to? Obviously, there is this movement going on about the certification overload. Like, people are very proud of getting a certificate, obviously, which they should be, right? It's a bit of a step, but it's not like Scrum is a certification or Agile is a certification. Like, what's the general response that you get?
I think for this, I mean, from a video standpoint, this one, obviously, with the comments and the DMs, I kind of see that, okay, there is definitely an overdose of these terms. But again, like I said, project management is not my primary role. But then I have some thoughts on the certifications. Like, I used to work in IT source management, and we have ITIL, we have other, COVID and all these certifications there. I think the general response is that the certifications are obviously not completely useful. They provide a framework, and they provide like a way for you to think about things, but then you cannot hold on to that and try to apply force with that in every situation you face. At the end of the day, you're the expert when it comes to a problem in your company, and you know best how to solve it. It doesn't matter what the certification says, it doesn't matter what the book says or the framework says. So I don't know what the response, right? Because all the people who are engaging on it, including me, we still have a job to keep, and we still have to do what our bosses tell us to do. But then just to have a way to voice out what you think, even if you don't know if it's right or not, and to see people resonating with that is when you get validation. For me, a lot of times, I'm usually not very sure of what I think because I've not been working for that long. But then when you put something out and people respond to it saying, I relate with this. I face the exact same thing. I'm going through this right now. That is when you get validation that, this is actually a real problem. And like, at least I was right about this the whole time.
One of the things that stood out to me is you're not just, these are comedy clips, right? It's comedy gold, but you're not necessarily a comedian. And I think being a proper comedian is way harder than being, for instance, as you're more on the product side of things, right? You create this Supermeme.ai. If I scroll through your LinkedIn, it says Office Meeting TikTok videos as well, and product. You're doing a lot of other stuff than just this. Yet I think the most difficult thing is coming up with these ideas that actually resonate. That are something that's proper comedy. How do you work with this? Is this something that you've been trained in? Is this just some God-given talent that you have?
No, I've definitely not been trained at this, but that is something that I'm exploring on the site right now. So to be honest, until the first video that I posted, I did not realize that I could make videos. I mean, that's not me. Like, that's not something that I've ever experienced. That's not something that I've ever explored. Like, I've not done theater, or I've not done any of that. But then to see a lot of in the pandemic, when I saw a lot of people recording and posting these videos, I just realized that it's not something that is completely out of reach. Like, you can still do it. What I didn't expect is my ability to kind of mimic a lot of these situations, right? And I don't think I wouldn't call myself like a great actor or comedian. All I'm trying to do is just recreate real situations. And maybe I like writing humor. Like, I always used to create memes. And even in my conference presentations where I talk about the things like IT service management, I still use memes, I still use humor, and I still try to get the audience to laugh. So that part has always been with me. But the actual comedy part is something I'm discovering, like, as I go through. So I am like, now with all the response I'm getting, I'm wondering if that is a path that I should consider. Like, maybe try to see if I can get trained, like, to maybe, I don't know, write scripts for a comedy show, or write sketches. So all those things I want to learn to do properly, but right now I'm just like winging it. I've not been trained for any of this.
Do you get feedback on these as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, most of the feedback is through the comments and the videos, but then what make the little moments of happiness is when someone, like, at work, or when you meet people at conferences or in business setting, like, people recognize you and they say, you're the guy that posts videos on LinkedIn, right? I'm like, yeah, that's me. And like, we really like your video. It's very, it resonates with a lot of what we do. So those kind of feedback is kind of keeps me going. Now that you mentioned, I can't remember, getting something from an area of improvement standpoint or critical feedback, because I feel I try to stay safe, right? There's not a topic that I pick that is probably potentially offensive, so I try to stay away from those areas. But thankfully, I've not heard anything from what you shouldn't have said that, or you shouldn't have done that. Like that line was not good. So I haven't heard anything like that, touch wood, so far. But yeah, mostly people have been kind enough to say nice things.
Oh, cool. Because for instance, I couldn't think of the name. It's a stand-up comedy club somewhere in the U.S. I think they're coming from Boston, but I forgot their name. But what they do after a comedy show is they keep people in there. They do new stuff, new material to ask for feedback.
Yeah,
and I think it's one of the toughest things if you have to come up with these kind of feedback yourself on what to improve and how to make it more stick, especially with this comedy stuff. That's so hard. And how do you engage with your target audience? How do you ensure that the next video is going to be another success?
No, definitely, because I have a lot of, not a lot, but a few friends who do stand-up comedy, and I kind of know the process they go through to test new material. Like, they do a lot of these open mics, and then ask for feedback, and I trade it until they get to their actual show. And that's something that I've acknowledged I'll never be able to do. So I'm not a very comfortable live performer. I'll not be able to get in front of a crowd and do these. So that is a process that I'll not be able to do. So for me, the feedback usually comes from the kind of videos that I put out. I kind of get it. So it's not like I create a video, send it to people, and get feedback. So my feedback is live. Like, when I post a video, if it doesn't get the reach that I expect it to do, I kind of go back to the video to see if there is something in there. And I also look for patterns. For example, with the training the new project manager video, it's a broad topic, and I find that the broad topics get good engagement. For example, I have other videos that talk about every Zoom meeting. I have videos that talk about every conference presentation. These are all videos that did pretty well, and they're all broad. They appeal to a larger set of audience, not just tech. So the videos that I focus on tech, for example, there's a video that is about every troubleshooting call ever. It's a very IT focused video. Only people who work in support and IT will understand. That didn't do as well. And that's one of my favorite videos because I used to work in IT. I kind of know the pain when someone calls you and gets you to fix their laptop. So I know the pain that you go through. It did not do well as much as I thought. So my feedback is mostly from these kind of retrospective. So, and I'm okay with that because I am also not the kind of person who's very comfortable in actively seeking feedback. Not because I don't respect it. For me, the joy comes from creating these and posting them. So the engagement and the likes and the comments are more outcomes of the content. But my happiest moment is when I record a video, edit it, add subtitles, and I finally play it back for the first time. That's where I find joy. So for me, the creative process ends there. And after I post it, what happens after that is more of an outcome of that. It could be good, it could be bad. And I'm grateful so far, like I said, for all the engagement. But then I'm okay with this because I'm not doing this full time. This is not my main gig. So this is more, I do this because I want to, not because I depend on this. So there is nothing that I do to actively seek feedback.
I think that's the power behind it as well, because you're passionate about it, just because you like it, not necessarily because you have to. I think there's nothing worse than forced comedy. This is just you, and that makes it so cool. Do you take the things that people mention out in comments as such, do you take that into the platform of Supermeme.ai as well?
No. So with Supermeme.ai, we're still early stages. It's such a new thing to explore. We don't know a lot of what we're trying to do. So all we know in Supermeme.ai is that we can teach AI to be funny, and we can teach AI to pick the right templates based on what the user wants. That's kind of how much we've discovered. So Supermeme.ai will focuses purely on meme templates, so it has nothing to do with the videos, kind of what I do. So they're completely separate. But then eventually, in my aspirational vision for Supermeme.ai, I wanted to kind of be the business humor platform, and even I don't know what that means today. But imagine if AI can write real scripts for you. Imagine if AI can generate a comic strip out of thin air for you, and for your specific situation with tools like DALL-E, which can generate images, it's not impossible. So that's kind of where we think Supermeme.ai should evolve, but it's obviously early stages so far. So right now we work with memes, and we gather a lot of meme templates and we kind of so our trick is in identifying the right meme template for you. So when you go in there and type in, let's say something like agile is not a certification, it's a mindset, just randomly saying. So it will figure out the right template to communicate that message. And obviously, it can be right, it can be wrong. But we want to help people who are not familiar with meme creation. So that's kind of where it comes in. So that's the limit, not limitation. That's kind of what it's designed to do so far.
How far are you away from that? Because I find that AI. I am by no means an expert in AI. I have very little knowledge in that. So anything related to that, I think is very interesting, especially if a machine comes up with humor. How does that work?
It is, I mean, in fact, I used to be like you before I started this. I'm not a technical person. I've never coded. I don't understand how any of these works. But then thankfully to people like Ramshree and Nico, like, who are kind enough to explain how all of this works. So with Supermeme, I mean, that's the part that I understand, right? So with Supermeme, what we do is we give it examples. We say, okay, this is how a meme text looks like. This is kind of how it looks. And for this situation, this is the meme that you generate. So when you give it enough examples, AI can kind of take that as an input and generate similar funny text. And I would say it does a decent job. I, in fact, use it when I want to create memes and I run out of ideas. I just go in there and type in what's on my mind. It at least helps me kind of, puts me in the right path. Like, it definitely fast tracks that entire creation process. Like, I've generated a lot of product manager memes using Supermeme.ai. So it's given me a lot of ideas. The trick, I think, what we're still trying to figure out is how do you pick the right meme template, which I think is hard even for me, right? Like, I've created so many memes, but then when I want to create a meme, I'm struggling to see, okay, what template should I use? I go on image flip, I keep browsing the pages until I find the one that I like. I think that's kind of where we add the most value. Because without even knowing what meme to create, you can come in and just like type in what's on your mind, and it will pick the template, write the copy, put it together, and generate a meme for you. So when it comes to actually writing humor, I feel like it's not as complicated as, at least the front part. I'm sure that there is a complex algorithm happening behind the scenes, which again, I don't want to know. But then it's not as complicated as I thought it would be.
Oh, that's a good thing. And how soon do you see your aspirational vision actually coming to life? Like, what I
talked about? Yeah. So this one, what I talked about is possible today. Like, you can go in there and try it out yourself. Obviously, like, for example, I want to generate original comics, like Dilbert-like comics with AI. I don't know. I don't even know if that's possible. Like, I want to generate maybe like, animated videos, like reel style videos. Again, I don't know if it's possible. But we want to keep it in the area of humor and help businesses leverage humor in their marketing. And that's kind of been our mission, when we started as well. Because we are very clear that we want this product to make money. We don't want this to be like a hobby product that we just like find out. And we want this to be useful. We want it to be so useful that people are ready to pay for it. I think we are kind of moving in the direction. We have few people paying for it, but then it's not yet achieved that critical mass that we would have hoped. But we are definitely moving in that direction. Businesses are interested in this idea, but they're still not ready to probably adopt it mainstream. So you should hang around until businesses are ready for something like this, and then I'm sure that people will find a lot of use cases for this.
I think if this engine will ultimately work properly, there's, besides comedy, besides memes, and besides just the fun behind it, there would be quite some things that you could use the AI machine for, right?
Yep.
How do you see that spiraling down spiraling up? How do you see that continuing down the line?
At least, again, for me, I have not thought about much beyond humor, right? But again, I see moving parts. For example, I see DALL-E, which is from OpenAI. We use GPT-3, it's from Open. So GPT-3 is a text generator. So when you give an input to GPT-3, it will kind of, it will read, let's say, 3 inputs, and it will kind of give you a correlated output. For example, I say something like, what is this? Yeah. So let's say Agile is a mindset, not a certification. And then let's say for corresponding text, I say something like, when you want to be Agile, you do a certification. And I kind of repeat these things. It will learn from it. So for an input, it will learn from my existing inputs and then give me something else. Now that is text-based. Now with DALL-E, what it can do is, let's say I write something like a person on a horse carrying a sword. That's what I write. DALL-E is smart enough to generate an image for that caption, which means it kind of understands what I give it, and then it generates an image. Now imagine these two together is very powerful, where you could generate original meme templates, like, original comic strips. You could do a lot. Now, and these are the two things that I already know of. There are so many other things out there that I don't know about. So
this stuff is insane, and it makes me think about a post that Sjoerd Nijland wrote a few weeks ago, where he had AI create entire pieces of artwork, and the results were astounding. It's so cool to see what these things can actually make and create. It's actual art. It's not just a random picture with pixels here and there. It's actual art. It's insane.
Yes.
So where do we need painters for?
I mean, that's what you would think. That again, I also strongly believe that even with AI so it will take away the monotonous part of it. For example, like I think about Supermeme.ai as a block remover for me, right? Let's say I'm stuck somewhere. Like I don't have to create memes for a living, but there are people who have to. Like, for example, if you're managing social media page for a company that always posts memes, you can't just come up with memes at will. So you need something that's and that's kind of what Copy.ai did with marketers. If you're a content writer and you need to come up with ideas, you can go to Copy.ai, give it some input, and you have something to start with, which is kind of how we think about Supermeme.ai as well. But the surprising part is a lot of these memes are readily usable. You don't have to go do any sort of modification on them. You can just directly take them and put it. And let's say something similar with the DALL-E as well, right? It will give you inspiration. It will short circuit the creative process, but I still feel like for real or for a lot of things, you will need someone, you will need a real person kind of doing it. But these will be good assistants. And that's kind of how I look at AI. They're always good assistants. They can never fully take over what people do.
Yeah, because that's something that popped to mind as well. Technology is putting more and more people out of business in general. But now, if you have a fully automated AI that actually is able to create pinpoint perfect jokes, puns, humor, then it's going to put out, it has the possibility to put down the entire industry of comedians. Like, no more Joe Rogan, no more Fluffy, no more. That's a worst case scenario.
Yeah, true. That's like a Terminator style scenario. But then I still feel like one, A is far, but two, you still need someone to pick out the good ones from the bad ones. Like it has the potential to turn out, because we've worked with AI so much, it has the potential to come up with so much junk content that you still need someone to look at it and keep tuning it. But again, a lot of us have been proven wrong, with the things that we've said. So you never know.
I'm really curious to see how that's gonna go down. What's gonna happen there? What's the best results you've had so far when it comes to the platform of Supermeme AI?
I think for me personally, because I make a lot of memes on product managers, so all of the product managers memes, and it's also the inputs to this is something that I personally wrote. So a lot of the product manager memes usually end up being pretty on point, because I kind of know what product managers go through, right? So the inputs are quite accurate. So that one is something that's usually turned out the best for us from a meme standpoint. But from a result standpoint, I feel like people are generally curious about the idea. So we get 50 people signing up every day, and we spend $0 in marketing. It's a side project for us, so we don't have money to spend on it. But we still get 50 people signing up every day, from product hunt, from from social media, and some places we don't even know where. But that is a very encouraging and kind of successful for us, because the idea seems to have taken off. Like what happens after that is something we still have to figure out. But getting 50 people, signing up every day, and then we're about 12,500 signups right now, which is a great number, and that's an unbelievable number for us, given that we started with 3 of us about 6 months back. We had to figure out a way to capitalize on that. That's something that we're working on.
Awesome. The best meme that I've seen so far, at least the one that resonates with me the most, is where you had the large container ship, vessel, whatever, stuck in the Suez Canal, and LinkedIn went ballistic over that one. You saw all the mostly safe bashing kind of memes popping up, but they were super successful. And the fun thing to see with those kind of things is people start responding to them, and because of that, they start clicking your profile, connecting to you, and then a lot of things can happen based on those new connections. So it's not just the value in the humor itself. It's also about the connectivity and the people relating to you, and I think that's very valuable as well.
This conversation is happening because of that, and a lot of my other conversations are happening because people found me through the video and then they saw that I'm also building a AI meme generator. So humor, I think, has, let's say if you're posting content about project management and then you're trying to teach something, if that reaches 10 people, again, I'm not an expert, but I think if you post the same content and you try to infuse humor into it, and if it's genuinely funny and it's not like a forced humor, like you said, it can reach 100 people. So that's the kind of power humor has, because you don't have a problem sharing a meme or a comic with a colleague. You probably don't want to share something that's motivational or something that's educational, because it's not, you don't know someone will like it, you don't know, you will come across something, but then you have no problem sharing something funny. And that's, I think, the power of sharing humor on platforms like LinkedIn, because people want to share something funny and they're just riding off on that.
And it seems to be working very well so far. Hey, listen, almost getting to the end. Where can people find your videos? Where can people find your memes?
I'm active on almost all social media, so I'm Sanjeev NC on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram as well. I also have a YouTube channel, Sanjeev NC again, where I've uploaded all my videos. So yeah, I can be found in all these platforms. I'm active everywhere, and YouTube is currently the easiest way to find all my videos in the same place. Everywhere else, it's on social media, so that's a good place to start.
I'm going to include them in the show notes as well. Is that where can people find you specifically? Not just videos, but more connected to you personally?
Twitter is a great place for directly messaging me, and LinkedIn as well. So both these places I'm very active. I also have a website, sanjeevnc.com, where I write about product management, professional growth, productivity, pretty much all the things that I dabble with. So that's also a great place to kind of understand what I talk about and the different things that I'm interested in.
Awesome. I'll put it all in the show notes where people can find your videos, your personal stuff. Thank you very much for being here, and I'm definitely looking forward to all the magic that you're going to come up with.
Thank you so much, Sander, for having me.
Most welcome.